I heard Roseanne Cash one time on an interview, and she said, if I could explain to you where this comes from, I would. She says, and I don't think there's any songwriter or any artist that can say, this is where this comes from. Because if I could, I would channel it into something and bottle it up and sell it. I just know that you can be anywhere. You can, and all of a sudden this idea comes to you and something says, hey dude, pick up a pen and write this down. And if you don't do it at that moment, it's gone forever. You know, as a songwriter, I think that it's your job to paint a picture in somebody's head. If you was an artist drawing a picture, of course you have all your different color paints and different things that you can paint a picture and, you know, show somebody the picture. But all you have as a songwriter is words. Your melody doesn't paint a picture. So your words has to paint a picture. It has to put something, and it might be a different picture to every person that sees it. You know, they might interpret it totally different than what you meant it when you wrote it. People, they see and hear what they want to see and hear in your songs. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's what you meant the song to be. There's a new book out now that this lady psychiatrist just wrote, and I'm on the cover of the book. And she analyzes the songs that we have written, and it says what we meant. And I wrote her a letter, and I said, lady, you are so far off about what I meant when I wrote that song. I mean, you don't even have a clue. And I don't know how you could, you know, write this down in a book and say, this is what I was thinking when I wrote that song. You absolutely have no way of knowing what I was thinking when I wrote that song, or what I was trying to get across when I wrote that song. You can only interpret what it meant to you. You can say that, but you can't state in there, this is what he meant. My songs that I write are very graphic as far as the word content is concerned. And I know that I've often used the example that as an actor in movies, I've seen a lot of movies where people use the word nigger very freely, but nobody ever accuses them of being a racist. I see movies where people shoot each other, but nobody accuses those people of being a murderer. I see movies where they rape women, but nobody actually accuses that actress of being a rapist. But as a songwriter, I have found myself accused of being a racist for using the same type words to paint a picture, which actually, in my mind, and once again, you're talking to a man who's 62 years old. So I grew up in a whole different generation. And back when I was growing up, there were certain things that were stereotyped, more or less. And in recent years, they've become focused on by different groups of people, and have tried to say this is wrong. You know, you can't talk like this, or you can't use this subject matter. But to me, when I was growing up, I mean, I heard things like stingy as a Jew, lazy as a Mexican, dumb as a Polak, working like a nigger, okay? These are things that are stereotype things. Doesn't mean that you don't like Polacks. It doesn't mean that you don't like Jewish people. Doesn't mean that you don't like black people. People also need to understand that I spent 22 years in prison, okay? And in that time that I was in prison, I was in an environment where it wasn't the same kind of environment that you grew up in or someone else grew up in. I grew up in an environment that was 89% black people, okay? So I grew up in an environment where that language was used freely. That was a form of communication, and that's how I learned to talk, and I learned to think like that. So in my mind, I didn't think anything about using that language to write songs. But then 20 years later, I find myself on Howard Stern defending myself, you know, I'm being accused of being a racist, although I have a black drummer in my band who's married to a white woman, which I don't kind of see much as any racist doing that. Joe South had a song called Walk a Mile in My Shoes. And I often say to people, you know, don't judge me by any one thing to do with me. If you come to a David Allan Coe concert and you're offended, if you like 19 songs that I sing, and then I sing one song that offends you, and you say, whoa, well, then you know what? I don't need you in my life, you know? Because I don't make music for any one demographic type of person. And my concerts don't go that way. So I have people that heard Mona Lisa Lost Her Smile on a country radio station. And then I have people that heard Fuck Anita Bryant on an X-rated album. And then I have people that heard David Allan Coe and Kid Rock on tour together. And then I have people that heard David Allan Coe and Pantera together. Well, all those people are coming to see me at the same place, okay? The woman that heard Mona Lisa Lost Her Smile doesn't want to hear nigger fuckers. The guy that heard nigger fuckers, he don't want to hear Mona Lisa Lost Her Smile. So what the best thing he can do is just sit out Mona Lisa Lost Her Smile and wait for his turn to come around, because I'm not playing to one person. You have to believe in something, and you have to stand up for what you believe in. And it's pretty obvious to me that I haven't been that far off the mark, because I sell a lot of records. And a lot of people identify with me for whatever reason. What country music is supposed to be about is real life, okay? Now, you go to Nashville today and they say to you, do you have any positive love songs for women? And I look at them and I say, motherfucker, you're talking to a guy that's been married 5 times. I don't have no positive love songs to women, no. You know, I got songs about, hey, bitch, you know, why did you do this? I got songs about I drank my wife away. That's the kind of songs I got. Because that's real life. You know what I'm saying? If you went and played Your Cheating Heart for the people in Nashville right now, they'd say, oh, no, we can't do a song like that. No drinking songs, no drug songs. Well, fuck, drinking and drugs and, I mean, and bad relationships, that's what hillbillies live. That's what they go through. Ain't no hillbillies that I know that are living in that little heaven that you're painting for them. I mean, when I went through my divorce, I did a Just Divorced album. I called one side Happy Side, the other side Suicide. You know, and I wrote songs about what I was going through. And I can't tell you how many people that I've gotten letters from that said, you know, I was going to kill myself because I was getting a divorce and I didn't know I could make, and then somebody gave me this album and I listened to this. And now I just want to know, I thought to myself, shit, if David Allan Coe could go through this, why can't I go through this? And the greatest thing that ever happens to me is when someone comes up to me and says, you know, I don't know how to express myself. And I have a hard time talking to people that I love. But you know what? I listened to your album and I heard this song. And, you know, I went to my girlfriend and I said, you know, this is how I feel. If you'll just listen to this guy singing this song, this is how I feel. I couldn't tell you this, but this is how I feel. Now, to me, I've done my job. You know, I really done my job when that can happen. You know, and I feel so good about that. You know, because all I can do, and all anybody can do, is share their experiences with you, okay? Nobody can live for you. Nobody can die for you.
Reckless, walking on a wild What's unique about David Allan Coe is he's David Allan Coe. He's just who he is.
He's a person, in just a couple of years, we've really had a privilege to get to know. We met a young man when David was on the Kid Rock concert, touring with him. And I sat and talked to this young man one night, having seen the show so many times. I was looking for anybody to talk to. And I said, boy, that David Allan Coe is really a talented individual. He's really wonderful to listen to. And this young man said he's more than something wonderful to listen to. And I asked him what he meant by that. And he said, well, you know, I never met David Allan Coe until I started working on the Kid Rock tour. And he said, I was on the verge of an addiction problem. And he said, I talked to David Allan Coe a couple of times through the tour. And he said, after the tour was over, a couple months later, he said, I got a 4-page handwritten letter from David Allan Coe telling me things that I had learned in rehab, but he shared them in a way that a human being had never shared them with me before. And he said, I was so impressed and so taken by that. He said, I wish I could share it with you, but it's very private. But he said, a lot of people really don't know the David Allan Coe that I've had the privilege to know. And when I heard that, I wanted to know even more about him.
You know, I've been a member of the Country Music Association for 35 years. I've never even been asked to be a presenter on their award show. You know, I got a Grammy Award for Take This Job and Shove It. They sent it to me in the mail. And it's like, I just never have been accepted. They've always been afraid of me. You know, they could go to Kenny Rogers and say, hey, Kenny, how about taking your earring out for this TV show, okay? Is that all right? And Kenny'd say, oh, yeah, no problem. I'll take my earring out. And I would say, fuck you, you know? And then what Nashville did, they turned around and labeled us outlaws because we wouldn't do it. Another quick story. I went to New York City. They had a sign that said, welcome David Allan Coe. They had my name spelled A-L-L-E-N. Well, my name is spelled A-L-L-A-N. You know? All right, so I go there and I'm supposed to talk to the president of the record company. And I sit in a chair for 4 hours. Finally, they said, you can go in now. This guy was sitting behind a desk smoking a cigar. And there was a chair in the front of his desk. I walked up, stood on the chair, stepped up on his desk, unzipped my pants, took my dick out. I said, let me explain something to you, motherfucker. If I ever wait for you 4 hours again, you need to have someone sucking my dick or you're going to have to do it when I get in here. I said, my time is just as important as your time, okay? If you want to see me at 5 o'clock, you tell me 5 o'clock. Don't tell me 10 o'clock on the fucking morning and have me sitting here. Now, fuck you, fuck your record company, fuck your interview, I'm out of here. Boom, I went and caught a plane back to Nashville. Well, oh, man, I mean, that was the big thing, you know. I mean, you think Ozzy, when he bit the head off the bat, created a disturbance. David Allan Coe telling that record company executive to suck his dick, that was a big deal, you know. And, I mean, I don't know if the guy ever got over it, to tell you the truth, you know. But I know one thing, that anytime that I ever had to meet him after that, I never had to wait. I know that. You see, in Nashville, I was the first guy. Up until then, if you got a $20 advance out of them pricks, you was good. I walked in and said, I want $1 million. And they laughed at me. I said, okay. When you get the money, I'll bring you the masters. I want $1 million. That's what I want. So they came back and they said, would you take $750,000? I said, I'll get back to you in a couple days. So, you know, it changed the whole scene in Nashville, Tennessee, you know. All of a sudden, Because in my mind, I'm thinking, what incentive do these guys have to promote me? They ain't got no money invested in me. I'm the only one that's got anything invested in me. Now, if this motherfucker's got $700,000 on the table that he's got to get back, he's going to have to sell something. And back then, to be in all honesty, it's like I did things in a big way, okay? Country and Western singers, as a rule and as a whole, traveled on a bus with their band. David Allan Coe had 5 18-wheelers and 6 buses on the road. I carried my own sound system, my own light systems, my own everything, my own staging, everything. So we'd get to a show where we was the opening act for Loretta Lynn, and she's sitting there in her one little bus, and we come pulling in with all these 18-wheelers and all this stuff and all this equipment, and all of a sudden she's going, well, I'm not going on after this. You know, you let him go on last. I'll go on first. This guy's obviously a bigger star than me. Until I came along, nobody knew what a songwriter was. If they heard somebody singing a song, they just assumed that guy wrote the song. No problem. And then I came along and I said, a friend of mine named Steve Goodman wrote this song. And then people started thinking, well, wait a minute, David's singing a song that somebody else wrote. Maybe we should try to find out about songwriters. And that's what happened with Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan was writing all these great songs. Nobody knew who Bob Dylan was. All these people were singing these songs. And then finally, you know, someone said, well, wait a minute. This guy's a songwriter. David Allan Coe said they're songwriters. Let's look and see who the songwriter is on these songs. Well, then they started seeing Bob Dylan this, Bob Dylan that, and they go, well, maybe we should try to find out who Bob Dylan is. But geez, I mean, I can't count the times when back in the 60s, I would go to do a concert and people would come to me and say, hey man, why are you singing them Elvis Presley songs? And I go, I wrote them songs. Why are you singing them Johnny Cash songs? I wrote them songs. Why are you singing the Johnny Paycheck song? I wrote the song. Why are you singing them Tanya Tucker songs? Dude, I wrote the song. It's my song. They sang it, but I wrote it. I mean, it's my song. Dude, this is where I live. You probably won't be able to see it, but like I got a full-blown whole recording studio here, dude. These are my keyboards right here, and a whole recording studio here. It's a TV monitor where I watch. This is a monitor for the studio, and 24-track recording studio right here, and got my own shower and bedroom and all that stuff. Got some pictures of some of my friends like Leon Spinks there. So I try to surround myself with different things. I've got one of Dimebag Darrell's guitars hanging in my bathroom on my bus, and there's like pictures of me and Dimebag and Kid Rock here, and there's a picture of me and Uncle Cracker. And of course I got Willie Nelson up here, and Leon just died. He was one of the original bass player for Leonard Skinner band, and he just passed away. He came out and, well, there's another picture of him right there too. Came out and I introduced him to Kid Rock.
He did a track with Kid Rock too, right?
And just have a lot of, try to surround myself with a lot of things that I get energy from, you know.